Hi, I'm Josh from Posthuman, and today I'm going to take you through the writing, manufacture and pressing of our new record, Buzzing 24/7.
Buzzing 24/7 was written in an outdated version of FL Studio. Samples from the Roland Boutique SH01 and TR09 run through a bunch of old plugins to give them some crunch.
Buzzing like I'm electronic. Buzzing like I'm electronic.
The voice samples, cut from a longer piece and legally licensed from the MC, were originally slower and higher pitched. We sped them up, pitched them down, gave them a bit of lo-fi distortion to suit the track.
24/7 on it. Buzzing like I'm electronic.
The finished track was then rendered, mastered and sent off to the engineer to be cut to lacquer. The audio is cut manually onto a disc of lacquer with an aluminium core, sometimes called a dub plate. The initial job setup, this is the tricky bit that needs experience. We run a preview signal through the cutting computer and make adjustments to get the loudest possible cut without distortion or overcuts, and it also has to physically fit on disc. That can be done by adjusting the level, the bass EQ, the stereo field and so on. Starting up the lathe. Any dust or debris has to be blown off the lacquer surface. Platter speed is confirmed with a strobe light, then head positioned at around 13 inch for the first test cut. You have to leave about half an inch of space on the outside edge to get the groove stable and to do any test cuts. The vacuum is then started to suck the disc to the platter and also to vacuum away the strip of lacquer. This is known as the hot chip. Now, using the microscope to check the groove width and depth and to set the depth to get a more stable groove. This can be quite tricky lately as the quality of lacquer supply is lower since Apollo burned down, so we have to work with a lot of lumpy discs. Making a test cut. The monitors at the end cut and you can hear the head actually cutting the music. Checking the test cut is just like playing a normal record. We only play through the test area like this, as each playthrough degrades the lacquer, which would then transfer through to the final stampers and each record. So now we go on to processing the lacquer into stampers. Roughing the outer edge and label area here. The label roughing is needed to stop the labels sticking in the press and the outside edges to help the nickel build up properly. This then goes into the automatic silvering machine, which prepares the lacquer so silver will stick, then sprays an exact mix of silver nitrate and a reducer that activates the silver. This process is one step, where a single stamper is made from a lacquer. For larger runs we go two-step. Father is made from the lacquer, then 3 or 4 mothers made from that. Each mother can then make around 10 stampers. Then it goes into the pre-plate bath, where a low current puts a very thin layer of nickel onto the lacquer. If you don't do this, then the lacquer will literally melt inside the high-speed plating bath. We then place a silicone ring round the edge to prevent a thick layer building up, which can make the stamper hard to separate. Next, it goes into a high-speed bath where the full thickness of nickel is deposited. The silver stamper is separated from the black lacquer base and a protective film is applied to the groove surface. Next step is centering, checking the grooves under a microscope, finding the locked end groove and adjusting the platter until it's centered exactly for punching. The final machine coins the stamper shape and trims the outside edge at the same time. The stamper is now done, one for each side. Each stamper pair can be used to press around 500 to 800 records. A two-step job could create enough stampers for thousands of records from one pair of lacquers. The stampers are then placed onto the moulds. PVC pellets are heated up to 150 degrees, melted into paste. The extruder then forms them into biscuits. Two blank white labels are placed each side and it's positioned onto the self-calibrating moulds, which then create the record through hydraulic pressure. After pressing, edges are trimmed away. The records are then set aside to cool for 48 hours, quality control checked for flatness, surface noise, center hole position, and packed into paper sleeves, boxed, then shipped. The records arrive at their destination, checked for any damage during shipment, then with this batch, I'm numbering and stamping each one.